Make this summer unforgettable driving in a Mercedes-Benz from Mercedes-Benz of Edison. Join me Friday, July 10th at 12 noon, where I will be hosting my show live from Mercedes-Benz of Edison. I'm excited to see my friend and GM Doug Wells and the entire staff. Mercedes-Benz of Edison is committed to making your shopping experience stress-free. That's one reason they were named the 2026 Mercedes-Benz Dealer of the Year by Cars.com. Visit Mercedes-Benz of Edison and meet me, Greg Kelly. See you soon.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody, on this Tuesday night. And, oh, boy. I mean, we've been predicting this for a long time on this show. I got to admit, I always say, save the tape, Kevin, save the tape, Elias or Phil, or whoever's hosting or producing that particular night. And, wow. Well, the tape has come true. In other words, I said that Graham Platner was not going to win in Maine. And now he's not even probably going to get to the general election in Maine against Susan Collins. As you may have heard, there are now very credible more allegations of sexual misconduct, even in this case, outright rape of a woman that he dated on and off a few years ago, not like 20 years ago. This isn't a Kavanaugh situation. 35 years ago, high school party, no one can corroborate what happened. Oh, no. This is somebody that Graham Platner knew quite well. And one night, according to her, went over to her house, hammered, forced himself on her. And from there, she said she no longer felt like she was in control. And in the end said, technically, she was raped by Graham Platner. So this was in Politico. Let's do the math on this, because we've seen this movie before, where if it looks like the polling's going south, then Democrats have a break the glass kind of scenario where they have a story in their back pocket that will take out that particular candidate so they can replace that candidate with somebody who may be more electable. We saw it in 2024. Joe Biden kicked to the curb by Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, and yes, George Clooney in that op-ed that was in the New York Times that ultimately led to Joe Biden dropping off almost, 2 years ago. And 21st, so we're talking about 1 year and 50 weeks ago, Joe Biden dropped out, and boom, they installed, Soviet style, Kamala Harris, because they figured, all right, the old man, his brain is mashed potatoes at this point. He embarrassed himself and the party during that debate in Atlanta, June 27th. So let's get him out, and maybe we'll roll the dice with Kamala. She's younger. You can't say she has dementia, even though if you listen to her speak, not saying dementia, but about as coherent and articulate as Biden at his worst. But nevertheless, they tried it, and it failed miserably. She lost every swing state in the popular vote. We also saw it with Eric Swalwell, where he was a guy that probably would be problematic if he got to the general election against a Steve Hilton, and he was leading in the polls at that point, and everybody knew about all these allegations that were underneath the surface. At least in the Democratic Party, they knew it. So suddenly, all these women came forward, and Swalwell was taken out, and now they have a primary where you have a Democrat and a Republican, but a Democrat who doesn't have any scandals as far as we know, and Javier Becerra against Steve Hilton. Swalwell, if he got to the general and was the only Democrat standing, and then all these allegations came out, then Steve Hilton, a Republican in a state like California in this day and age, probably would have won. And that's why they took him out when they did. And now with Graham Platner, with Susan Collins now beating him in polls, which means if she's up 3, she's really up 8, 9. We know how these things work. They always overestimate the Democrat turnout and always underestimate the Republican, or Rhino in this case. I know many of you probably aren't fans of Susan Collins, but put yourself in her position. She's in a state like Maine, which is basically a blue state. It's a very, very light purple. We'll put it that way. Kamala Harris even won it. by, I think, I want to say 7 points. So, yeah, she has to govern towards the middle, so to speak, if she expects to survive. And all I know is that she's survived now, going all the way back to the Clinton administration, where she has won by, 23 points, 30 points. And then the last election, when many people thought she was going to lose, she still won by 9 points. So if she's beating Platner now, and he's defined as this creepy weirdo guy who has the Nazi tattoo who says black people don't tip and that women should act more mature if they want to avoid rape, and the guy who wants to defund border security, abolish ICE, and have the government take over all of health care, all while degrading and insulting Purple Heart recipients. I could go on. We have talked about it on this show. I mean, there is not one group this guy has not insulted in the worst way possible. And then he blames PTSD, because PTSD makes you want to pleasure yourself in porta-johns, right? That totally leads to that, right? And it makes you want to go on websites like Kick, which is a predatory site for adults to find children who are vulnerable. I mean, again, this is the worst candidate I can remember Democrats getting behind, and most of them did. And now, oh boy, they're going to pay for this as a brand. Believe all women, that's out the door. We're a champion of women, between men playing against women in sports, and now backing a guy like this who has abused several ex-girlfriends. They all came forward. And now this latest allegation as far as him actually outright raping somebody. Again, an allegation. All right. Let him have his day in court, so to speak. But when there's smoke, there's fire. And now we're talking about 4 women who said that this guy has been, at the very least, toxic and verbally abusive, and at the worst, an outright rapist. Well, that's certainly where we are at this point. Now, many Democrats calling on him to drop out of the race. Here's Zohran Mamdani, so brave. You know, the Nazi tattoo he had no problem with. And maybe we know why that is, given his past statements about Israel, about Jews. But the neo-Nazi tattoo guy probably is, a guy that could be working in the Mamdani cabinet. Kind of fits the bill. Anyway, here is Zohran, again, finally coming to the microphone and saying, I know he had the Nazi tattoo. I know he abused his ex-girlfriends in the past, and I was willing to ignore all that until now, because the memo went out that he needs to be taken down, that being Platner. This is cut number 6. Go.
The focus of today should be to respond to the gravity of what so many of us have read, and I think that the only appropriate response is for the campaign to come to an end.
Wow. Again, where were you months ago? The minute the Nazi tattoo thing comes out, that should be disqualifying. Picture a young Ted Cruz, younger anyway, running for Senate for the first time. And then it's revealed that he's had a Nazi tattoo for 20 years. What do you think would happen to a young Ted Cruz? Or a young Ron DeSantis if he ran for governor of Florida for the first time, and it was discovered that he has a Nazi tattoo? The media would go to 24/7 mode to demand this person step aside for the good of the country, because we can't have that sort of toxicity in our particular government, in our dialogue, our rhetoric, and certainly no one like that who embraces Nazism. Instead, Platner was given a pass by the media for the most part, saying that, well, it was a long time ago. Yeah, he was still in his 30s when he got the thing. So let's not sugarcoat this as, well, he was young and foolish. Sorry, late 20s, if anything. Oh, boy. So anyway, Elizabeth Warren, let's do a little flashback here. Here's what she had to say about Graham Platner. Again, this is after she knows about the Nazi tattoo and the black people don't tip comments and all the comments he's made about women. Doesn't matter. We got to take back the Senate. We have to defeat Trump. Was willing to forgive it, but then she takes it even one step further in this flashback. Cut number 5. Go.
I am here because Washington needs fighters, and Graham Platner is the fighter we need. You bet. I said to myself, that's my kind of man.
Oh, that's your kind of man. Again, she's finished. Like, there's never a time. She cannot ever pull a Brett Kavanaugh again. Remember, she led that fight as much as Kamala Harris, as much as Cory Booker. That Kavanaugh cannot be approved as confirmed, I should say, as Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court. This was back in 2018 because a woman came forward 35 years after high school to say that Kavanaugh had sexually assaulted her. A story that even her friends in high school, zero corroboration, zero video, zero witnesses, and it nearly derailed him. And the person that saved Kavanaugh, ding, 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 Senator Susan Collins, who was the deciding vote, who was wavering a bit. But then she came forward and said, this is, BS. Obviously, she didn't say that, but it was so obvious. And again, this is the E. Jean Carroll rule, that if you make the allegation against a conservative, there's a chance it could sink that conservative. Now, E. Jean Carroll said that about President Trump, that, boy, he sexually assaulted me in a department store changing room. Again, no video, no witnesses, never said anything about it at the time, no police report. And then when asked about it years later, when she finally came forward and said this happened, she couldn't remember the year it happened. I'm certain if something that traumatic happened in anybody's life, you remember the year at least, right? And still a Manhattan jury, because they hate Trump, awarded E. Jean Carroll $84 million civil suit. Not a criminal one, so he doesn't go to jail, of course. But that's what liberals have been pointing to. Like, well, we could still support Platner because there's a rapist in the White House. Except you got to believe E. Jean Carroll, right? And here's E. Jean, flashback again, with Anderson Cooper on CNN, talking about how actually rape is sexy. And if this person, and here's the thing about this video you're about to hear, it wasn't allowed to be played in court by a corrupt judge. Because if the jury heard this, even if they're anti-Trump, they'd be like, wait a minute, this person's crazy, right? Anybody who thinks that rape is sexy, probably, I don't know, could be making the story up. This is cut number 8. Go.
The word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Oh.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Anderson, we have to go to break. Our producers have to talk to this woman. She's saying rape is sexy. You hear that? DEFCON 1. Anderson Cooper. You can't say that. No. This whole thing's going sideways. This is not what we planned, not what we talked about. They think of the fantasies. You're fascinating to talk to. Oh, boy. And she won that suit? Unbelievable. So that is the comeback, I guess, for those who are saying that Platner should stay in the race. Meanwhile, Representative Ro Khanna, oh, so delicious. This guy, Democrat, California, he is the biggest champion, or was, of Graham Platner. Even after these allegations by the ex-girlfriends, talking about one ex-girlfriend said that Platner locked her in a room, just like that movie The Housemaid with Sydney Sweeney, right? Locked her in the bedroom and wouldn't let her out until the next day. Left marks on her shoulders, nearly pulled her arm out of the socket. But Ro Khanna, he was okay with all that. And, oh, by the way, the Nazi tattoo. And even campaigned with the guy, went to rallies. Well, let's do a little flashback on Ro Khanna. And this, I guess, was the last time that he had an ounce of credibility. But now that these new allegations have come out against Graham Platner, now he's saying Platner has to drop out of the race. Isn't that convenient? Anyway, cut number 7, go.
My view is that even according to the New York Times piece, they said there was no harm, no injury. There was toxicity, and there was verbal intimidation, which I condemn. But Graham has made it clear that there was no evidence of violence. That, to me, is a red line.
That's the red line. The tattoo wasn't the red line? The comments about blacks and women and Purple Heart recipients, that wasn't the red line? Ro, this guy wants to run for president. Good luck with that. And by the way, Ro Khanna is the guy who teamed up with that useless idiot Thomas Massey, who now will be an ex-congressman on the Republican side, thank God, to talk about how he's a champion for all the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and by implication, Donald Trump. Yeah. We care about women. We care about victims. Except if it's Graham Platner's victims, then, well, we got to win back the Senate. We have to restore democracy. So all these Democrats are now calling on Platner to drop out. And as of this, show, he hasn't yet. Apparently, he probably will. And the condition is that he, therefore, has the right to name the person that replaces him. Boy, the balls on that guy. I screwed up the party completely. I probably blew the small chances of the Democrat Party taking back the Senate. But I want to make sure that if I'm dropping out, I'm calling the shots. What leverage do you have, dude? Well, apparently he thinks he does have some. Meanwhile, Sonny Hostin, who, again, you talk about, worst people on the planet. Worst people. I'm not talking like Putin kind of worse, right? Like truly evil people that kill people. Let's say the worst person in media. She works for ABC News. And she said a couple weeks ago that while Graham Platner is anti-Semitic and abusive to women, she would still vote for him to save democracy. These people are sick. And here she is in cut number 11, and oh boy, it gets worse. Cut number 11, go.
I am sorry. I am someone that believes in character. I am someone that believes that morals matter. But because of the state of this country, if I lived in Maine, I would hold my nose and I would vote for Platner. I think he should step down at this point. I think there's no question about that. He has until, I believe, July 13th. I think we are in this existential crisis, and we need, as a Democratic Party,
we have to have a baseline standard.
I would vote for him, right? The first clip. And now he needs to step down. Do you believe the way that whole thing started, that clip? I believe in morals and character. But because democracy is under attack by Trump, I guess, because he won a free election, and Republicans won the Senate through free elections, and they control the House through free elections. Nevertheless, she would still vote for a scumbag like this if she lived in Maine. And now she's saying, well, I guess he has to step down. So now the way this is going to work is whoever it replaces Platner, it's going to be vote blue no matter who. And they'll try to prop this person up as, okay, you get everything with Platner, except you don't get the scandal and the creepiness and the abuse and all the racist and sexist and anti-Semitic stuff. All right. They're going to try to repackage this. They will lose that seat handily. The brand is broken. You can't possibly trust it. All these people that got behind this guy, then telling you to vote. No, actually vote for the other guy instead. They have no standing. And again, Collins has survived all these years for a reason. Before we go to break, Julie Roginski, who I used to do some Fox Hits with way back when, she was on CNN. And, Julie's very consistent with this stuff as far as all right, Dems, you're the party that believes all women. But you can't have it both ways because you want back power. Cut number 12, go.
We are a party that claims to believe women. We are a party that claims to be the party of Me Too. And all of a sudden, what it means to be a Democrat these days, apparently, is a noun, a verb, and APAC sucks, right? That's all it takes to get some people to fall behind somebody like a Graham Platner. These are not new allegations. Multiple women had come forward previously. I don't know why they weren't believed. And for Khanna, who I think has done the Lord's work on the Epstein files, why he believes those women, but for some reason did not believe enough the previous women to withdraw his endorsement way before today, is puzzling to me. It doesn't make any sense to me as to why a man who went on blogs and criticized black people, criticized women, had a problematic tattoo that he claims either he did not know was a Nazi symbol or is lying that he didn't know was a Nazi symbol, why none of that was enough.
That's an honest person right there. One of the few on the left side of the aisle, Julie Roginski. Anyway, this is the Joe Concha Show. We're back with so much more on this controversy. And, by the way, we have President Trump over at the G7. Over at a NATO summit in Turkey. And, boy, he's not happy with the Europeans. We have that sound when we come back in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Anyone can sell electronics. At Electronics Expo, they do more than sell products. They design, install, and support complete technology solutions. From home theaters and whole home audio to lighting, shades, automation, networking, security cameras, and premium entertainment systems. For over 22 years, they've helped thousands of homeowners experience technology at its very best. See the difference for yourself. Visit their Wayne or Paramus stores in New Jersey or shop now at electronicsexpo.com.
Pay's checkout is offered by your banks and credit unions. So when you shop online at participating merchants, your cards appear in one place, ready to use and kept up to date. And the best part, your actual card number isn't shared when you check out, because boundaries are healthy, like no work emails after 6. One small step for boundaries, one big leap for checkout. Pays. It checks out. Activation required. See Pays.com to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
And we're live from the living room as Doug eyes up the matchday spread. He's reaching for the Buffalo wing. Perfect! Hang on, what's this? Oh, he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! Incredible! What a finish! Sensational combination! Look at the delight on his face. There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a pack of Pepsi Zero Sugar for today's match. It's poetry in motion.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, oh boy, we have here on the Joe Concha Show exclusive sound of when Graham Platner went to the powers that be in the Democrat Party and said, you know what, I want to represent you in the Senate in Maine. And this was actually where he had to apply for the job, so to speak. And we have that audio here in cut number 4. Go.
Thanks.
Qualifications.
Rape, murder, arson, and rape.
You said rape twice.
I like rape.
Charming. Sign right here.
Well, there you go. So that's all it took, I suppose. All right, that's from Blazing Saddles still. Very appropriate. We have so much more serious stuff to get to, I promise, on the Joe Concha Show. Back with more in just a minute.
The GLP-1 pill you've been waiting for is now on Ro. Yep, it's finally here. With the same clinically proven ingredient, now in a pill, and now on Ro. It's the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss at the lowest price available. That's one daily GLP-1 pill for big results. Now on Ro. Go to ro.co/listen to see if you qualify. RX only. Go to ro.co/safety for serious side effects and boxed warning associated with GLP-1s.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. So today, see, the advantage of my 4 jobs, and yes, I have 4 jobs, is that, and they're not full-time, I guess you could say. In other words, I could juggle a couple things throughout the day, and if I manage my time right, then it's really not all that bad. So today, my wife is working. She's an ER doctor, so she's at the hospital. My 2 kids are in camps that run from 9 to 3. The dogs, because it was raining, I took them to a little place called Camp Bow Wow. All right, so that's a place where they can hang out with other dogs. Instead of hanging inside when it's raining, or if I take them for a walk, it won't go that long because it was raining. They could play with other dogs for a while, and they go there like once a month. Just a little treat for them once in a while. So I had the whole house to myself. And at 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, while I'm writing my column for the Washington Examiner, all right, job number 2, Argentina and Egypt are on the World Cup on Fox. So the game is 1-0 Egypt. And then Lionel Messi, who's the greatest player of all time, I think you can make the argument he's the GOAT. I with all due respect to Pele, I wasn't around for him, or Maradona, or all these other players of the past, just based on the numbers and based on, I don't know, just a feel. This guy, at least if you want to put it this way, he's the greatest player right now. That's certainly for sure. He's leading the World Cup with 8 goals so far over Mbappe of France, who has 7, and Haaland of Norway, who also has 7. So the great players are all stepping up. Now, all of that said, Egypt's up 1-0. Then Messi gets a penalty shot. Now, these things are kick. I'm used to hockey terms, so excuse me on this one. And this guy, again, being the greatest, and the fact that these penalty kicks, it's a big goal. My daughter plays soccer. If you place it in the right place, it's going to go in regardless of what the goalie does. And sure enough, the goalie makes the save. Messi doesn't convert it, which you're like, what? How did that happen? Then Egypt in the second half scores again, and it's 2-0. And there's like maybe 15 minutes left in the game. And trust me, in soccer, this isn't the NBA. You put up a 3 and you're back up, right? 3 goals in a World Cup game at this stage of the World Cup. So we're in the final 16 teams. You ain't scoring 3 goals in 15 minutes, even if you're Argentina, the defending champions. Well, about 3 minutes later, so about 12 minutes left, Messi has a perfect lead towards the goal. Guy puts a header in. It's 2-1. Then a couple minutes later, Messi scores an incredible goal, and it's tied. And you're like, oh, my God, they could win this. And here's the call from Andreas Kanter, who's been calling World Cup games forever for Telemundo. And, I mean, he usually hams it up a little bit with the whole goal. The guy loses it. I lost it at home. I could not believe they tied this game. And, of course, it comes off the left foot of the greatest player I've ever seen in the most beautiful game. Here's the Kanter call, and it's just, this is only 22 seconds of it. It goes on for like 3 minutes. But for radio's sake, we had to cut it down. But you'll get the point. The emotion in his voice. It's awesome. That's all I can say. Cut number 17, go.
Otra vez Messi. Se desvía la pelota que cae al área. Julián Messi.
His voice is gone. I'm telling you. Listen to the whole thing. I mean, there's no larynx left. There's no voice box. And that's how dramatic it was. And you saw Messi just because, again, according to sources, at 39, he'd have to wait till he's 43 to play in another World Cup. Now, again, it's like Tom Brady. He's still playing at a high level where he's even outscoring guys like almost half his age and Mbappe. And it doesn't matter. Like, he's still that great. And Brady was winning Super Bowls in his 40s, so why can't Messi play until he's 43? Why not? By the way, why not have the World Cup every 3 years? Every 4 years nonsense. We're living in a different world now, all right? Gimme. So that they should move this thing up. And I know the FIFA president definitely wants that. And if the money's there to be made, then what are you people thinking? Don't wait 4 years, do it 3. The point is, though, that Messi thinking that, okay, I'm about to go out of the World Cup in the round of 16 to friggin' Egypt, right? And then he ties the game. They eventually win it in extra time. And Argentina comes all the way back, down 2-0 late in the second to win 3-2. But the greatest game I've ever seen in soccer, that I do know. And again, when the greats, especially at a late age, remember Jimmy Connors at the U.S. Open in 91, and he makes that one last run. He didn't win it. He got to the semis. But still, the fact that he just took over Arthur Ashe Stadium. You like to see the greats do it one more time, even when they're older. Sugar Ray Leonard when he beat Marvin Hagler, right? I was really, really rooting for Mike Tyson to beat Lennox Lewis. Didn't happen. Too much of a reach advantage, height advantage, all that stuff. But yeah, you like to see the greats come back and do it one more time. And hopefully we're seeing that from Messi. And I still say he should come back in 4 years. I don't care. What's 4 years going to be? All right, so maybe you only score 9 goals in the World Cup as opposed to the 12 he's probably going to score. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's stay on sports for a second, shall we? Let's have a little fun here. So Michael Jordan, when he was negotiating with Nike, comes out of the University of North Carolina. Remember, he hit the game-winning shot against Georgetown to win the national championship. So he's drafted. Not drafted first, by the way. Sam Bowie went before him to the Portland Trail Blazers, and Sam Bowie will always be remembered as the guy who was taken before Jordan. But the point is that his mother actually negotiated his contract. Now, from a business perspective, this is very interesting, and hopefully you'll stick with me this, and you're like, I want to hear about Trump, I want to hear about what's going on. It's fine. Just give me 2 minutes on this one, because I think it's really remarkable. His mother said, okay, we'll sign your deal. We're going to pay us $250,000. Again, this is 1980. I want to say 1984. But you're also going to give us a percentage of every shoe sold. And you're going to hear Matt Damon, who plays a Nike executive, saying, well, that's not the way it works. She's like, well, yeah, that's the way it's going to work. And the fact that she did this, I'll tell you on the other side what Michael Jordan to this day, without having to do one advertisement, one endorsement of any shoe, especially his shoe, what he's making per year, just because his mother put this, as she says, minor clause in the contract. This is cut number 16. Go.
Michael will accept the $250,000 salary guaranteed, and the shoe will be named for Michael and our family.
Really?
Mr. Vaccaro, don't sound so surprised.
No, great decision.
Now, we are willing to accept the deal and commit right away, but with one minor provision. Michael will get a percentage of the revenue of the sale of each shoe that is sold.
Oh, Mrs. Jordan, so that's not how the business works at all. What? The athletes get a licensing fee. In this case, obviously, a groundbreaking fee. But they don't actually participate in the gross sales of the shoe. That would disrupt the industry, and they wouldn't
Well, that's not his concern. His concern is that in order for the shoe to be meaningful, then Michael has to create the meaning in that shoe.
It is the NBA, so these are the best of the best.
Well, he has to be better. He will win championships, multiple championships, final MVPs. I know my son.
They're not. You don't get to be Magic and Michael Cooper. It's basketball.
Yeah. But if he doesn't, he deserves to be compensated. You eat, we eat. That's all he's asking.
I need a shoe, Pete.
I would assume.
There you go.
I need the greatest basketball.
So let's leave this here. Because his mother put that clause in the contract and had Nike agree to it, he makes $275 million a year for doing absolutely nothing. It's 2025. Michael Jordan, in essence, retired from basketball in 1998 with the Bulls. I understand he came back with the Wizards, but that, 2-year blip, gave it a try, went on a bad team, still played pretty well. But let's face it, all these years later, all right, let's call it nearly 30 years later, and he's still making $275 million because he gets a percentage on the royalties. Overall, the Air Jordan, still to this day, despite the fact that obviously he's not in the league anymore, we hear about King James and LeBron and Steph Curry and obviously now Jalen Brunson and all these younger stars, it still generates $7.3 billion in revenue. That's what it did in 2025. Anyway, that scene came across my algorithm, and I just found that to be awesome. So why not play it here? Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG. Now, people say you're against Marjorie because now she's against Trump, and therefore you're taking Trump's side. No, I have been saying, going all the way back to when Marjorie kissed Trump's ass for God knows how long, that this person's just not A, very smart, B, probably anti-Semitic, and C, bad for the Republican brand. She talked about and actually advocated this idea that there were Jewish space lasers, I'm not making this up, you can look it up, that were clearing out woodland, basically like forests, so Gavin Newsom can build his high-speed train in California. I'm no Newsom fan, as if you're listening to the show, of course not. But Jewish space lasers is kind of like a thing that I think is a disqualifier. What does that even mean? Right? And she's also said some really weird stuff about how the government can control the weather, and therefore our government actually has steered hurricanes to Florida and to other states to, hurt those red states and prevent people from voting. If you believe that, I beg you to change the station right now. All right. I beg you, because that is not reality. It doesn't exist. The government can't control the way hurricanes decide to have a track to somewhere. It makes no sense whatsoever. And if it did, I don't even want to get into it. Why am I even entertaining this debate? Oh, anyway. At Joe Concha TV, if you want to tell me why I'm wrong. But here's Marjorie. Now, here she is again on The View. The View loves Marjorie now. CNN loves Marjorie now because she's anti-Trump. Before, she was laughed at by the left and by some, at least sensible people like me, on the right. But now that she's so anti-Trump, she keeps getting invited back on The View because it's supposed to show that even Republicans hate Trump. His approval among Republican voters is the highest of any president in party, whether it's Democrat or Republican, in history. And he's in his second term at this point. Usually it starts to wane. It even did with Reagan, but not with Trump. They are as loyal as it comes, but MTG and Thomas Massie, they represent the masses. No, they don't. Here she is on The View, and they had her come on to talk about the heavy-hitting stories like, Taylor Swift's wedding. Cut number 10, go.
Absolutely absurd for the 80-year-old president of the United States. I thought it was fantastic, and I think it's absolutely absurd for the 80-year-old president of the United States to attack one of the most popular musicians and talented women who's so generous to her staff and takes care of them.
But he thinks he's more popular than her. Didn't he say that this weekend? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's why he's always picking on her.
Wow. Boy, that's going to hurt Trump big time. Yeah. He got elected twice. All right. He got 78 million votes. And Joy Behar's like, yeah, Trump thinks he's more popular than Taylor Swift. Yeah, Trump is the biggest figure in the world, period. End of story. This is a stupid conversation. But, of course, that's why they have MTG on, right? Oh, he's picking on her. Who the freak cares? Honestly, this is dumb stuff. And Taylor Swift has every right to be criticized. And Mr. Kelce, by the way, because you had to have your wedding at Madison Square Garden, didn't you? Or at least the reception on July 4th weekend during the World Cup. And during America 250, how friggin' obnoxious to use that much police resources so they could have their wedding there. It could have done it anywhere in the country. Could have made this very, very easy. God knows the guest list can fly anywhere they'd want them to. They had to have it here, didn't they? So, yeah, I'm criticizing her, and I have no problem about that. My daughter, she likes the Olivia Rodrigo. She's big on that. Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know these people. The music, all kind of sounds the same. I got to be honest with you. I cannot tell the difference between any of these people. Gracie Abrams, Taylor Swift. It's all the same thing. And my son actually is into classic rock now. He goes, at least this music has soul. He's kind of an Eagles fan now. He's 10. You got to like that. Anyway, let's move on to other fun stuff, including, this is awesome. So Kamala Harris is leading, as I've talked about on this show, every poll pretty much for the Democrat nomination. I get it July of 2026. But basically, after the midterms, this sucker starts, the presidential campaign, especially on the Democrat side, where probably 20 to 25 people will run again. The reason why I know that is because in 2020, 27 people in total ended up running for president. So you're going to get a high number. And Kamala Harris right now, according to polling, is beating Gavin Newsom anywhere from 19 to 23 points. So it's Kamala 1, Newsom 2, California, then AOC 3rd, somewhere about, a couple of points back. Yeah, that is not exactly the 98 Yankees as far as the batting order. Kamala, Newsom, AOC, and then Pete Buttigieg. Not good at all. But focus group went down to Georgia, right? Now, again, Kamala is going to have to pick off Georgia, Arizona, and then sweep Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, which are becoming more and more red because more and more, let's put it this way. Trump won all three of those states, 2016, 2024. And if you think that Kamala Harris, after campaigning for 2 years, is somehow going to do better after people get to know her even more and listen to her more, you're out of your mind. So she needs a state like Georgia. And this is how this went with this particular focus group. Not good at all. Cut number 3, go.
Thinking about the next election, so this would be in 2028. Kamala Harris. Would you vote for her in the next election? Now, I noticed some of you, I think, voted for her last time, Michael.
Yeah, I would not. The only reason why I voted for her because her name was on the ticket. But again, and I didn't want to vote for Trump. But again, I think she was kind of like the Hail Mary pass at the end of that the way that the Democrats kind of went through that. I felt like we were cheated out of a primary. Biden said he wasn't going to run again, and he did.
Yep.
And he shouldn't have ran. I can agree with anyone on that.
By her?
She was a token.
She was beyond a token. She was a, yeah.
I've got another
giggle.
for you guys.
Her giggle.
Her giggle. She was she was a token. She was a Hail Mary pass. 7 out of 8 of those voters said they will not vote for Kamala Harris. Ruh-roh. You think Gavin Newsom's going to do well there? AOC with the whole socialist message? Think that's going to do well in a state like Georgia? Yeah. Maybe in the inner city of Atlanta. Kinda. But AOC isn't exactly likable either when she's on the stump now, is she? She's loud, and she comes across sometimes as not very well informed. And I can't see people electing somebody like that as the president of the United States. She should run for Senate, primary Schumer, and win there, and then maybe go from there. But for now, she ain't ready. That's certainly for sure. And Kamala Harris, oh boy, that's not good news at all, but not exactly surprising either. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
With over 2 decades of scientific innovation across oncology, Pfizer continues to drive the next wave of cancer breakthroughs. Approximately 40% of all our R&D is invested in oncology. With 90-plus clinical trials across more than 4,000 sites, Pfizer is focused on 8 new medicines by 2030, all with a single focus, helping your patients with cancer. Learn more at cancer.pfizer.com.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. All right, so President Trump in Turkey, a big NATO summit there. And look, he is not happy with NATO. I don't blame him. All right, we've had their back. We have spent billions upon billions of dollars. We have troops over there in Germany still for some reason, which makes no sense. Or in obviously the 38th parallel separates North Korea, South Korea. You know what? Maybe we'll just pull them all out at this point. If they're not going to have our backs and didn't let us even land our planes during Epic Fury against Iran, then why are we even putting any money into this at this point? And that's exactly what Trump seems to be underscoring here in cut number 1. Go.
With respect to what? Well, that's what hurt my relationship with NATO, because Greenland doesn't help Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States. And it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships. And that's not going to happen. The ships it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that, and it continues to be, that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money, we could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe. Because as you probably noticed, Europe's a very different place than it was 20 years ago. A lot different, much different. It's a much different, and they better be careful with immigration and energy. If they're not careful with those 2 things, you're not going to have a Europe anymore. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
He's very right about that, especially on the immigration part. We went to Paris. It was like a work thing for me. My wife and I went back in 2009, and without like any political sort of background to this, like, you know, backdrop, I should say, my wife said, this city feels different than when we were here last time. And she was right about that. And I know exactly what she was talking about. Anyway, one more clip from Trump here in Turkey, again, going off on NATO. And I could see him. He doesn't bluff. I think we've understood that he doesn't bluff at this point. Cut number 2, go.
But you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us. And they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, I guess he's no longer there, maybe because of this. It was a very unpopular thing he did. He said, no, we'll help after the war is over. I said, I don't need that kind of help. We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we help them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And he turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, you know, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us.
He makes a great point, guys. And again, at some point, this thing is going to break. And all I know is that the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and Oman, these countries are far more helpful during epic fury against Iran than France and Germany and England and Spain ever could be. So the world is shifting, and Trump is at the forefront of that. Anyway, we are out of time, unfortunately. We're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time on WABC and on stations around the country, around the world. Until then, instead of my usual bye-bye, let's play Cut 17 one more time, Kev, as we go to break, as we end this show. Andreas Cantor, Messi, the GOAT.
Otra vez Messi, se desvía la pelota que cae al área. Julián Messi.
Good night, everybody.
Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park July 7th to the 12th for a 6-game series against the High Point Rockers. Wednesday, July 8th with first pitch at 6:30. It's Woo Wednesday in collaboration with the Wu-Tang Clan. The Ferry Hawks transform into the Shaolin Hawks. Thursday, July 9th, first pitch is at 6:30. It's Thirsty Thursday with $5 Bud and Bud Light drafts.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.